I've walked between the seen and unseen worlds as a shaman for decades. Now, I didn't choose this path, it chose me. And what I'm about to share was once kept secret. It was held this way for centuries. But my elders said that we've entered a time that's different now. It's a time when all of this needs to be shared. So that's exactly what I'm going to do.
There are lots of the teachings for my vision quest were about being an initiated shaman at this time, and that this is the time of no secrets. This is the time of sharing. This is, they said, look, there was a time, my ancestors would tell me that there was a time when we had to keep all these things secret because the culture was going to be annihilated. So you had to hide these things and keep them hidden. But now, in my generation, luckily, we're at the time where that's over now. Well, more or less over. And it's about sharing the medicines and sharing the teachings. So it's kind of understanding that the reason I was passed to so many different cultures and different tribes was because it was up to me to meld all that together. So
And is that the possibilities that you open up for other people now through merging all the different wisdom from all those different tribes? Because, it sounds like these are not the kind of experiences that you see as you did that first advert with White Bear. These are not courses or initiations that are advertised. You get passed round, and so it's not for everybody. It's not you choose it, it chooses you. Those tribes choose you. So, having gone through all of that, what possibilities do you feel that pulls together for you to open up for other people now?
I think it makes it incredibly accessible. And I think one of the possibilities is that I'm to understand that my training as a shaman and the things that I've learned to do are bridges for people. And I think my job is to present that bridge and say, come on, because possibility will only exist if you cross the bridge. Possibility only exists if you're willing to ask, if you're willing to try. That's the door to possibility, right? You can't
Absolutely.
just, yeah. So there has to be an active choice that you make, or just be curious. And I think when people are curious, because I'm not, this is the tradition and this is the way it is, and you have to be in this particular discipline or this particular tradition, I think more people find me accessible. I think they find me more practical and accessible. And I think that grounded approach only can come because it wasn't this weird thing that I did on one weekend. I lived this for a year and a day, and now 35 years that I have, this has been my spiritual discipline. And I think that is just, I know where the doors of possibility are. So when someone's curious, I go, right, you're curious from your tradition. Come here. The door, your possibility door, it's right there. Come here. Let's go across the bridge. And then they have to open the door. But I think I can lead them to the door because it's been so many different disciplines in so many different countries.
So is that why the reason that people come to you to help opening those doors of possibility, or do they come for healing, for ceremony? What are the reasons people would seek you out?
All of the above. I became a licensed celebrant, so I could do marriages and funerals and death midwifing. So sometimes I've done quite a lot of death midwifing. Sometimes they come for healing. Most of them come because somebody has said, "Oh, EagleHeart, is this shaman that I know?" And they go, "I've always been curious." So I always get the people that say, "Well, I've always been a little bit curious." And I'm like, "Well, come on." So I do public ceremonies as well. So I do equinoxes and solstices, and I've always done those publicly. And then I carry a sacred pipe that's a new moon pipe. So every new moon, I do a ceremony, and sometimes there's a lot of people, and sometimes it's only private groups, but they hear about that. So I'm kind of like this entryway into this incredible world of shamanic practice.
As you learn to be a shaman, and as you develop your skills, you're always working with unseen entities, voices, visions. You have a vision quest where you cry for a vision to see something. You walk on the land and you listen to the land and you listen to the trees. So you do a lot of listening. And quite often somebody answers, someone speaks to you. And you understand that there are energies and there are spirits all around us, all of the time. And you tune your skills to be able to listen to what the tree says, what the bird says, and you develop an innate ability with your intuition and good guidance and good training to know that what you're hearing is the voice of spirit and not something your imagination is making up. Part of the reason that I was taken on as an apprentice and initiated was because of a vision that Red Cloud had. He had a vision of the Rainbow Tribe. And he looked at me deep in the eyes and he said, "You're a brother of this land. It doesn't matter that you've come at this time in this flesh, in this persona, with this heritage. You're a brother of this land and I recognize you." And all the people are coming back, and they're coming back to this sacred time from all races. And shamanism is one of those things that accepts everyone. It's broader and bigger than any one particular tradition. It used to be that things had to be kept secret. To sustain the culture, we had to keep our secrets. But now we live in a time where we must share. We must share as widely as we possibly can to heal this place. At the end of my initiation, I was taken into the teepee, and I sat with the elders. And they said to me, "You're going to live to a time when the world is dangerously out of balance. And we want you to use your gifts of sight whispering to travel around the world to sacred sites, talk to the ancestors, and gather the wisdom that we need to restore balance to our time."